Hello guys, many people these days are vibe coding with AI, and I thought, why can't I vibe code review with AI? So in this video I will try to do exactly that. I was asked to review one simple junior-ish project, and I will run a series of prompts with Cursor with Claude 3.7, something like this. You are a senior developer, give me some advice and review the code and refactor it. I will try to do that on routes files, on one controller, and we'll try to also generate automated tests along the way. And this will be a longer video because I want you to see the process of how I try to do that in the same vibe of vibe coding without thinking too much, just blind prompting and see what happens as an experiment. And by the way, this is Saturday. I don't usually publish videos on Saturday on the channel, right? So, surprise. And the idea here is I want to dive more into AI and using it with Laravel, but I don't have space on the channel to publish videos about that. There are too many topics around Laravel, which are Monday to Friday, also scheduled some ahead. So on weekends, I thought I will publish AI-related videos, for now on Saturday and Sunday, for now on the same channel. And we'll see if it gets traction, if it gets more popular. If I see the need to dive deeper into it, it may turn into a separate channel or blog or whatever. So let's see how this experiment goes, both with AI globally on this channel and in general for this vibe code review. Let's begin. I usually start reviewing any Laravel project from routes, so we'll start our vibe code reviewing exactly here. So here's the routes web opened in the cursor. So we just open the cursor agent and ask this question. You're a senior developer trying to implement best practices. What would you change? And let's see. It took around 3 seconds. Now it's thinking. The issues thought for 5 seconds, as you can see. And these are the considerations. Okay, generated something, but generating something else. And this is where the cursor has frozen. So for 1 minute I've been waiting for it to generate something, but it didn't. And to be honest, this happens quite a lot in Cursor, especially for generating a lot of files. It's kind of freezing in the middle sometimes. Maybe it's because I'm using Cursor free version at the moment with free prompts. When I run out of free credits, I'll probably purchase Pro or use my Claude Pro API. So let me know in the comments if that happens to you in the Cursor as well. So let's just cancel all of that and repeat it again. I don't see any button to restart or repeat or something else. Just on top I see stop. Then we can click reject everything. And I don't see the button to rerun or anything. So let's just copy and paste that into a new chat window. So we would start fresh. Refresh again. Send. Again, it's generating something for quite a while, and let's see what would be the result. And okay, this is different. It doesn't try to refactor right away. It just adds the suggestions. Thought for 7 seconds, and here we go, 6 suggestions. Let's look through them. First, it is suggesting to replace route closure, this one with a controller. And I do agree, though I wouldn't agree with the old syntax of add show login form, like in Laravel 7 times. Move the redirection logic to proper controller, that's probably the same. Fix the unreachable code, this is a bug that is found. So if you take a look closer, route get, we have if statement, else if, and then else, which is the fallback, and then after that there's return, which is always unreachable. Then also add appropriate middleware and then consider more robust approach, and that would probably require bigger refactoring. I would vote for Cursor to implement 1, 2, and 3 for now. Let's try to do that. Implement 1, 2, and 3. Send. Okay, it's asking me to run a command, ask every time or auto-run. I would prefer to ask every time, although actually sometimes it generates file on its own, so I'm not sure when does it prompt for that. And okay, it is finished in roughly 15 seconds or so. So the changes are these. In the routes, login controller instead of that all route get login, which is exactly what we asked for, and it doesn't use add syntax, it uses proper syntax. Good. And then what do we have in the controller? Let's open that up. Show login form, probably the same logic without any changes, except for styling. I see more spaces here. Let's accept all, and let's see how the code looks without chat. Looks good. Login controller should be okay. but there's no way to test it because that project doesn't have any automated tests. So in the folder tests, we have only example tests from Laravel. So let's ask Claude, ask Cursor to generate the tests. Let's open the agent again, new chat, with login controller as a context, and this is the prompt in kind of a vibe coding mode without too much detail. Can you just write a feature test for this controller? Send. It thought for 4 seconds, and let's see. Also it tries to understand the structure of example tests. Generating with comments, and that's it. Let's see the code of that login controller test. Test redirects to admin login, test redirects to employee login, to agency login, and that's it. So 3 methods. Let's try to run those. So at the end of this, I can copy. There's no button to run for some reason. Sometimes it does appear, but in this case, the button is just to apply to login controller, which we don't really need in this case. So let's open the terminal, paste that, and see if it's successful. Well, yeah, we have successful tests. Probably actually I should have generated tests before doing the refactoring, but now we have the tests for the future. So this is one of the cases how to use the AI generate automated tests for your current code. Now let's go to one of those routes files, which is route admin, and let's try to review that code where we can restructure maybe those routes. And I already see a few things that I would restructure, but let's ask AI. So we open the agent, paste the same prompt for what would you change in this file, and let's ask Claude. Okay, some suggestions based on thought for 6 seconds, and sometimes it does try to generate the code, sometimes it just asks. Probably in the prompt you should specifically ask for only recommendations or trying to actually implement them. Okay, so it's finished, and let's review the changes. Or first let's review what it suggests. Method references, yeah, I saw that already with add symbol somewhere. Yep, down below it was even this with .add, which was even weirder. Anyway, apply route naming prefixes, which is incorrect because the prefixes are defined in the routes web as an prefix. Group related routes more logically, yes. Use consistent middleware and consider resource routes. So if we try to review those changes, it basically moved a lot of code, a lot of routes into one group of route group auth admin, then removed the old add syntax in favor of new syntax, and then moved logout to that admin. So a lot of changes which are even hard to review visually. Something is added, something is changed. So if the change is on one line, it's easy to understand. If it's more than this, or if the route is moved to very top or very bottom, then it's very hard to understand. But in the vibe of vibe coding and vibe code reviewing, let's accept that and see the final result of the file, which now looks like this. So yeah, logout is moved to another place, which is this, because it does need to be under middleware auth admin. This is clearer. So implementing route resource everywhere and putting route controller only on top for some extra methods. So yeah, to me it looks clearer than it was. Whether it's absolutely correct, we don't have a chance to test because, well, there are no tests. So now let's try AI with a more difficult task to generate the tests for all of those routes, at least for the get ones. So-called smoke tests, whether it returns 200 for all the pages like login, like dashboard, and stuff like that. So we open the chat and write something like this. Can you write a feature test for a get request in this route file? Let's see what the Claude does. Planning the moves, so a lot of planning for resources. It's 10 items, thought for 7 seconds. Now it will try to generate feature test. Okay, it started in roughly 30 seconds after generating, and has it finished yet? No. Or yes, it did actually, just was writing the comments. Okay, so we have admin routes with 351 lines of code using refresh database, parent setup. Do we have admin factory? This is interesting. In the comments, maybe it commented on the factories. Let's scroll down. So tests. No, it doesn't say anything about factories. But again, let's continue vibe reviewing, vibe coding. Let's accept and let's try to run. So see, in this case, it suggests to run the code, not just apply. Let's try to run that, close the sidebar, and the result is 29 failed tests. I'm guessing it's because we don't have a factory. Yeah, we don't have admin factory. Who could create it for us? Of course, AI. So here's the prompt, generate factory for admin model. We send. It's checking the directory structure to ensure to place it correctly. That's cool. Read user factory, so it's analyzing the existing factories, also analyzing the model and the migrations, and only then is creating factory based on those. An interesting thing, it actually remembers that there were test errors. That error should be resolved. So we accept, and let's try to rerun the tests. PHP artisan test. Still failed. We don't have the route of admin dashboard index. Where does that dashboard index come from? Let's actually open that admin route test and search for dashboard. Is there a dashboard route? Let's try to check that. Admin routes. Oh, there is a dashboard route. And yes, now I see what AI did incorrectly. So when refactoring that file, it didn't take into account, or I didn't put the context that the naming is here in the route group, earlier in the routes web, and not in the admin. So let's try to just replace without AI, so we will not use another credit. And let's replace name admin with this. Replace all, and let's try to rerun the tests. Artisan test, all still failed. Admin employees index. So yeah, it's trying to reach admin employees index, and what is the actual name? Oh, of course, it uses also names, admin employees. That should be probably this, but actually it's unnecessary because it's a standard resource route. And also let's remove those names from everywhere. This is a manual refactor, so this is how you use AI and then fix stuff manually. And now I think I don't have any names with admin dot, and we can run the test again. Artisan test, and we still have 29 failed tests. So admin login, notification factory is missing. Basically, we need the factories for everything, for notifications. Also, admin dashboard route is not defined. So yeah, the overall thing is that to tackle a very big refactoring is almost impossible, whether on human level or with AI. Now too many things are missing, incorrect, and now I'm kind of getting out of energy to continue fixing that. So yeah, the overall advice, don't ask AI to refactor or to generate too much code, because if it doesn't work, then it may be too much time for you to then fix it. But at the same time, if you don't have the test for those routes, don't start refactoring, because only with automated tests you may be absolutely sure that you didn't break anything. But for now, let's leave it unfinished as it is, and let's move on to some controller to try to refactor that. Okay, I have opened a random customer controller in the admin namespace, and we have index, create, store, so basically a CRUD controller where I see already a lot of things overcomplicated in the controller, but let's see what AI will say about this. Again, same prompt, what would you change in this file? Of course, for proper refactoring, it probably needs more context for what's inside of those blade views, but let's just leave it file after file for now, for this video. So the first recommendation is to create dedicated form requests, and it will probably try to do it for us. Yep, it generates the form requests and then uses that in the controller. And then the problem is that those requests were not generated properly. We need to run the command to create that folder, and then it will continue with generating stuff. Okay, so the request file is generated with the rules, probably copy pasted from controller, then another request file. So it's doing that in steps. Good. Authorize true, rules from the controller, and then searched code based for fillable. Read customer, the model, and then it will probably influence how that will work. So fillables are in the customer, and then probably in the controller it will use request validated, I'm guessing. So yeah, the controller is response. Let's open it up, redirect success, and update status. This is where it uses route model binding, which is probably good, but I was more waiting for refactoring on form requests. Actually, probably it's been done already on top. And yeah, now the summary of improvements, and I think it is finished. So form requests, and then instead of guarded, we use fillable array and also use route model binding on non-standard resource route, added proper dog blocks, reordered controller methods, also added configuration for pagination and formatting. Let's accept all and see how our controller looks like now. So index with latest, and we don't have that value in the config. This is Laravel extension of VS Code, which also works in Cursor. Sometimes it breaks for me, I don't know why, but in this case it works, so it will fall back to the default value. Then create, store, now we use form request, so this is much shorter, and it uses route model binding also. And probably I would generate the tests for this controller with help of Claude, but I already see that we will need a lot of factories like customer, factory, agency, user, and stuff like that. So I will spare the time for you because it would be probably the same as a few minutes ago where I spent a lot of time generating the tests. Basically, the idea is that whatever Claude is generating for you or refactoring for you, it should be covered with tests. So I think it's enough for this quick experiment with vibe code reviewing, just reviewing the routes and one of the controllers by AI. In most cases, I agree with the idea of refactoring by Claude. So this is probably roughly similar how I would do this controller. But as always with AI, you need to double and triple check whatever it generates, both manually yourself while reviewing the code and also with automated tests. And also one piece of advice, whenever you use AI to refactor something, after every finish step, please commit it to the repository locally or remotely, because if you try to find something in the history of what it has generated, tracing back some commit or history, it may be tricky. With Git, it's kind of standard and more easily. So yeah, what do you think? Not that much about the code itself, but about the idea of trying to review or refactor the code with help of Cursor, AI, and in this case, Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Let's discuss it all in the comments below. That's it for this time, and see you guys in other videos.